Hello and welcome to another issue of Volusia County Issues. My name is Eddie Colosimo, also known as Crazy Eddie. My guest today is Mike Chitwood, Chief Mike Chitwood from the Daytona Beach Police Department, and we're going to talk about some issues that are taking place here in the Daytona Beach, Volusia County area. Mike, welcome back and thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me, Eddie.
We have some issues that we wanted to go over. Well, for the people who didn't see last week's show, Mike and I come from the same neighborhood up in the Philadelphia area where we had knew a lot of the old hangouts and places to go. And so this is kind of fun and a little reminiscent for us to be able to sit here and talk like this. Mike, one of the things we want to talk about, we'll talk about some of the things we talked about last week too, but one of the things I want to take on now is the grandparents. You brought up an interesting story about the grandmother who was raising her grandkids, and one of the grandchildren died or drowned in a pool. How big a problem is this in the area where we have these young women leaving their children to their grandparents?
I think it's a horrible problem in today's society. You have grandparents raising their grandchildren because the parents have these issues with these pill mills.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, you have these young women that have kids. Next thing you know, they're hooked on these Oxycontins, or there's a huge drug problem. They can't take care of themselves, let alone their young children. And now you have grandparents now playing the role as parents.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens all over. I don't care whether it's the inner city, it's black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't really matter. The good thing in some ways is, thank God, the grandparents in some cases have the physical, mental, and financial abilities to take care of those kids. But in other places, the grandmother's just scraping by. I mean,
yeah.
You know, we had the incident last month where the 3-year-old drowned in the pool on Palmetto. And that was a case where the grandmother is raising these children. They're court-ordered to do it because the daughter is in drug rehab, and unfortunately, I mean, how do you keep your eye on a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old who's sick and,
yeah.
you know, they change a diaper and there's something's going on, the 3-year-old wanders out the door and you're trying to keep one eye on the 3-year-old, and in minutes, the 3-year-old's dead.
Yeah.
In the pool. I mean, your heart goes out to the grandmother who's trying to do everything humanly possible to hold this family together.
Now, you told me the story about that particular case when the mother came out.
The mother came out of rehab. They picked her up and they brought her into the room where the family was being counseled and being told that the baby had passed away. And this young girl just unloaded on her mother for killing her daughter. I mean, I wanted to grab her and choke her. I mean,
yeah.
What are you talking about here? You know, your mother's trying to do the best that she can do. You need to look in the mirror and
yeah.
say it's not natural for grandparents to be raising their kids. It just, you know, you think after 24 years in law enforcement, you say you've seen it all. And it's not true. Every day you see something different. Had I could have just choked her, I would have choked her for the way she treated her mother in that incident. And
it really wasn't her mother that killed her child. It was her pills.
She wasn't addicted. She would be living at home with her mother.
Yeah.
This wouldn't have happened. The grandmother wouldn't be running around. I mean, let's face it. You don't have the reflexes to be raising a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old when you're in your 60s that you do when you're 20 and 30. You know, but nobody takes responsibility. You know, it's always somebody else's fault.
I see in the news every day where these pill mills are getting busted. What can we do to stop these people? What can we do? How many of them are there around, for God's sake?
The legislature, we're the worst state in the union. Florida is the worst state in the union. People come from all over the country to come to Florida because you have these unscrupulous pain clinics that when you walk in and say, I have a sprained eyelash, they write you a script for 500 Oxycontins, 500 Loratab, and 500 of whatever. Now, I mean, I just had knee surgery 2 weeks ago. They gave, not that I would ever want to, not that I take that stuff. They gave me a prescription for ibuprofen for pain. Mm-hmm. So how do you go to these places? Well, this past legislative section, they're going to start tackling that now. They're going to crack down on these pill mills, these unscrupulous doctors. They're going to have a pill registry. It's going to be a lot tougher to get them. I mean, it's the crack cocaine, these pills, Oxycontins and Loratabs. It's the crack cocaine epidemic all over again. It's just in pills.
Well, I had neck surgery about 2 years ago, and this was up in Gainesville in the VA hospital. When I came out to come home, they gave me a bottle of 75 oxycodone. That bottle is still sitting on my shelf at home, and it's still got 73 pills in it. And I don't know why I don't throw them away, because I'm sure as the devil never going to use them. But, and that, I'll tell you what, our own VA clinic, guys, you know it. You veterans out there, you've been to the clinic, they love to throw you pills. Man, like I said, sprained eyelash, we'll give you a pill. You got this, we'll give you a pill. Just don't bother us anymore. But I have been associated, matter of fact, I know a grandmother who's raising children. Again, pills, the pill mill, and it is sad. It is really, really sad that these parents who should be at this point enjoying their lives are raising children again. And it's saddening.
I will tell you that 90% of the crime in Daytona Beach is drug related. And pills are probably 50% of that now. Everywhere you turn, some young person's life, white, black, male, female, some young person's life has been destroyed by being addicted to these pills. And apparently it's not an easy thing to break from what we see and understand. They just relapse over and over and over again.
It's terrible. I'm lucky enough to have grown up in the 50s, and we didn't have that much of an issue with drugs. I think pot was the biggest thing that we had going back there, and then even that wasn't that prevalent. And then when I went into the military, I was in ahead of the drug scene in the military, so I beat it there too. But you know, I look at some of these people and these drugs, and what their drugs are doing to people, it's absolutely, it's horrible. It's terrible. And I hate to see it.
I was lucky. I had great parents. I had great grandparents that were there to set a good example and stay on top of me. And I was a gym rat. I mean, all I wanted to do was play ball. So there was a correlation there that you couldn't screw off and go down that road. And I think growing up, marijuana and weed were marijuana and Quaaludes were the big thing. I mean, it wasn't crack cocaine. There wasn't any of this stuff that's going on now. I mean, and of course, heroin was something you would never even have considered, because that was something that was done, you know, in other sections of the city by people that were all screwed up. It wasn't kind of a middle class kind of drug at the time.
Let's go to the beaches. How would you feel if the county were to give you back your beach for your patrol, for you to control?
I would like to see that from the standpoint that we are the city of Daytona Beach.
Right.
When you as a visitor come to Daytona Beach, you don't know that on the sand it's the county, it's the county patrolling it, and on the street it's the city. When you go to the beach or go into the bathrooms and something gets screwed up, it's automatically Daytona Beach's fault.
Yeah.
And Daytona Beach itself suffers for that. If the time ever came, I mean, obviously I still have people who were here who policed when we had the beach. I mean, you're from up north.
Yeah.
How many cops were on the beach in Ocean City, New Jersey?
I don't think I ever saw one.
Right.
And it was great.
Right.
We had a good time.
So, Wildwood. Now, Wildwood was a wild place. There no cops on the beach.
No cops on the beach. Matter of fact, we still had our campfires at night. It was a great time. But see, Chief, that was back in the day, before, again, the drug era, before people got so screwed up, and so before parents were not allowed to discipline their kids. Those were good times. They really were good times. We had some wonderful times back then. And like I said, no cops on the beach. I'm noticing in the news here lately, it seems like more people are getting run over by cops on the beach than they are by other beachgoers.
It's amazing. I mean, when you run, I tried not to run on the beach after 9 o'clock in the morning, because as you get down into the ISP corridor down there in the Silver Beach, you can't walk, let alone drive a car through there. It's just, it becomes untenable. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm one that I think everything in Daytona Beach should be policed by the city of Daytona Beach. Schools, beach, everything. It's our city. You know, cities should have that autonomy to do that.
Right. I'm kind of outspoken about a lot of things, as people well know. And I was listening to a radio show the other day, and one of the guys said, well, we should take the cars off the beach. We've got 40-some miles of beach, and we only have like 18 or 15 miles of driving. How many people drown on our beach? Let's say in a year.
Not many. Not many.
Well, okay, let's say in the last 5 years, I'm sure we've had more people, the point I'm trying to make,
Sure.
we've had more people drowned than we have run over and killed by cars. So therefore, my idea is, let's fence off the water and not let anybody go in the water. I think that's a great idea. Then nobody will drown. Nobody will go to the beach because they don't want to drive on the beach. There's nowhere to go to. But if you're going to drown, that's just as bad as getting run over by a car, right?
Right.
So let's just fence off the water. What the hell?
From our perspective, there's nowhere to park.
Yeah.
We don't have parking for the air show. You know, when the air show came in, we were parking people all over the place. What do you do on a normal Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
When, you know, even though it's the novelty of driving on the beach, where do you put the cars at? There's nowhere to park on the peninsula. So, you know, how do you come to the beach and not park your car?
Well,
Although we didn't mention at Wildwood, you have to they have camel rides that take you from the parking lot to the water's edge because it's, what is it, 3/4 of a mile in some places to get from the boardwalk to the ocean?
Well, in Ocean City, Maryland, they had concrete parking lots right on the sand.
Really?
And with meters. And I've tried to bring that up to our local county people here, and they just say, ha ha, yeah, right. But that was a great setup. Along the seawall, there was actually concrete a parking lot. So you were parking on the beach, but you weren't on the sand, and you were right there. And it worked out great up there.
And if memory serves you right, Ocean City, Maryland's beaches, and our beaches are wider than Ocean City, Maryland's beaches are.
Yeah, they are. Let's go to the serial killer. You were telling me earlier that you guys have a new method or a new process or way of trying to track this guy down. What are you doing with this guy?
There's new technology. It's called Familial DNA. It's legal in California, Colorado, Wisconsin, Virginia, Pennsylvania is about to go on board with it. Basically, when we were created, we got the Y chromosome from our mother and the X chromosome from our father. The X chromosome ties us to our grandfather, our brothers, our offspring, our cousins. What this familial DNA does is, in the case of, I'll give you an example, an anecdotal example, is the LA had a serial killer called a Grim Sleeper. Over an 18-year period, he's tied to at least 10 murders through DNA, 10 rape murders. But every time they ran his DNA profile through the national database, it came up clean because the guy had never been arrested.
Right.
Familial DNA checks the database to see if your son, your father, your brother, or a cousin was arrested. So California says, go ahead and run it, and they do. And what happens is the DNA is a close match to a guy in jail. It's so close that the scientists tell the cops, this guy you have here, it's his father's your killer. So they go follow the father. He goes into a pizza shop, has some pizza, drinks a soda, throws it in the trash. They retrieve it, get the DNA, boom, it's a match to the 10 murders.
Wow.
Our state attorney, R.J. Larissa, is in a conference this week with the Attorney General Pam Bondi. The founder of this Familial DNA is a gentleman by the name of Mitch Morrissey. He's a Denver, Colorado DA. He's going to be presenting why the state of Florida should adopt Familial DNA to solve